This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
It's Oh Behave with Arden Moore, the show that teaches you how to have harmony in the household with your pets. Join Arden as she travels coast to coast to help millions better understand why cats and dogs do what they do. Get the latest scoop on famous faces, their perfectly pampered pets, and who's walking who in Rin Tin Tinseltown. From famous pet experts and best-selling authors to television and movie stars, you'll get the latest buzz from wagging tongues and tails, garner great pet tips, and have a doggone fur-flying fun time. So get ready for the pause and applause as we unleash your Oh Behave host, America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore.
Welcome to the Oh Behave show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Dogs are smart, but what is dog intelligence anyway? I mean, you're about to find out. Our special guest today is a New York Times best-selling author, and she just unleashed a must-get book. It is called Dog Smart, Life-Changing Lessons in Canine Intelligence. Please welcome to our show, Jennif Holland. Welcome to the show, Jennif.
Thank you. Appreciate you inviting me on.
I hope I don't feel dumber at the end of this.
I doubt it.
Because I only have 2 legs, but I do have opposable thumbs.
That's true. We have something on them, at least one thing.
We're going to dive into dog intelligence in a bit, but we got to take this quick break. You know the drill. Sit, stay. We'll be right back.
Time for a pause. 4 furry ones, actually. Sit and stay. Oh Behave will be right back.
Pause up, pet pals. Arden Moore here, your host of the Oh Behave show. Me? Wow. Did you know there's up to 100 million free roaming cats in the United States? And without spay or neuter, that number is only going to keep growing. Not only does spay neuter humanely reduce the community cat population, it keeps cats healthy. Scooter, the neuter cat, is on a mission to give cats an extra life by making it hip to be snipped. Hey, check them out. Go to givethem10.org. That's givethem10.org and help us make this a better world for cats.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com. Oh Behave is back with more tail-wagging ways to achieve harmony in the household with your pets. Now back to your fetching host, America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore.
Welcome back to the Oh Behave show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. I am going to get schooled on dog brains, dog intelligence, dog smarts. I know people say, my dog's smarter than your dog. And why is one breed supposedly smarter than another? And what is dog intelligence anyway? Well, for answers, I am so delighted that the person that knows more than many of us, because she really did her homework, and she is a best-selling author. Her name is Jennif Holland, and I love the title, Dog Smart, Life-Changing Lessons in Canine Intelligence. So this book is, the ink is still wet, right, Jennif?
It is.
Congratulations. What made you write a book on dog intelligence?
Well, I love dogs, sort of the obvious answer, right? And
Phew.
yeah, I kind of wanted to, people kind of joke around about dumb dogs, smart dogs. I've met a lot of dogs in my life and just was kind of curious, if you start thinking about what does it mean to be intelligent, I kind of started to question whether we always have a good definition that applies outside of the human species. And it just became kind of a fun exploration to think about what does it mean to be smart for another animal, for a dog in particular. And they just were such a perfect subject to investigate this. And I've had a great time doing it.
And this isn't your first rodeo. You are a New York Times best-selling author, and you've tackled a lot of topics. I think you're probably one of the coolest persons to be with stuck in an elevator or at a boring cocktail party. I'm just going to kind of lay it out. So you tell me. This lady is a science writer. Check. I love that. I love this conservation biologist. Check. She has many bestsellers, including the book you got to get as well. Get a double book deal. Unlikely Friendships. She writes for National Geographic. That all sounds really great, right, Jennif? But let's dive in. You have hung out with tiger sharks in the Bahamas?
I have. We went did a little diving there, no cage or anything, just right there with the sharks circling us and hanging out with us for an article about their role in the ecosystem in the Bahamas.
How did you tell the sharks you come in peace? And you don't want to be pieces.
I'm not in pieces, yes, I was going to say. They were remarkably calm. We went with someone who had been hanging out in this particular area with these same sharks. And
Which part of the Bahamas?
Familiar. We were not too far from the capital. We were just kind of off. It's been
By
a number of years
NASA?
now, but yeah, and it was really just a beautiful area where it was fairly shallow and then suddenly deep, and so you would get sharks that would come up to that shallow area to feed and to check us out, I think. And yeah, they were curious, but we really didn't have any problem being around them. They were quite lovely, actually.
And that's when you got out, you went, shoo.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, Brave Broad. That's your new name, Brave Broad. You also climbed some trees, rainforest trees in Borneo?
I did. Yep. This was my most recent adventure was in Borneo with a photographer working on all of the biodiversity in a particular rainforest, cloud forest, and chasing orangutans around, trying to get a good glimpse of them up in the trees. And
Did you try to talk like them?
I don't think they were listening to me. I tried to communicate. They didn't throw poop at me, so I considered that a plus. As some
And why
primates
in
do.
God's name would you camp near a live volcano in Hawaii?
You got to do well as a past investigative reporter. You should know, right? You got to get out there and experience it to the fullest if you're going to write about it. So
Well, what was that like?
it was loud. It was hard to sleep, I will say, because you're kind of lying there thinking, how close am I? And is something coming to get me? Something hot? But, these are sort of life-changing moments, I think, to be that close to the dynamic aspects of the natural world. So I would never not do that if I had the opportunity.
My last favorite was, how do you float in zero gravity over the Gulf of Mexico? I have not seen that on any tour guide.
Yes, this is, although I think nowadays you actually, if you have enough money, you can do one of
there
these
you go.
flights. They call it the Vomit Comet, and these are the flights that fly in parabolas. And on just as they're tipping over and starting to come down, you get a zero gravity experience for short stints, maybe 25 seconds or so at a time.
Well, describe it. What was it to you?
It's bizarre because you kind of want to say it's like being in water, but you remember you're not pressing against anything. You don't feel any sort of media around you. So it's unlike anything you can really imagine. You're just at the mercy of this force that you can really barely understand. It was quite something.
Now, there was a method to all this madness of me asking you this. You're not a writer who sits in a little cubby hole in a corner in a New England town sipping tea, dreaming about things. You are writing based on your knowledge and being a biologist and all. So, when you were a little girl, what was your big dream to be?
Honestly, I think I wanted to be a writer from early on. I probably dreamed of writing fiction first because as a kid, that was more my genre. I tried a lot of bad poetry, a lot of not very good short stories.
No haiku?
No, and probably a few haiku. But my grandmother, when I was little, actually said to me, someday maybe you'll write for National Geographic. She thought that would be the be all end all of
That is a good one.
opportunities. And unfortunately, she didn't live long enough to see me do it, but that's where I ended up. So
She might be
Nope.
in zero gravity in heaven saying she
That's
did it.
possible. That
You
is
did it.
possible.
So you've written a number of books, but why are you tackling dog intelligence?
I just wanted to get a little bit more into science. My previous books were fun. There's a little bit of science, but they're really more kind of heartwarming, sweet animal pairs and why do these animals partner up and I wanted to do something that got me a little bit more into the mind of an animal and what are all these cognitive capabilities and how do we know and what is it that we're studying or that scientists are studying and that I can sit and watch.
Well, you did your homework. You went to different types of experts. Tell us a sampling of the type of people you went to get some answers.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with working dogs and their trainers, handlers, owners. So, for example, I spent time at the Seeing Eye in New Jersey, and observed how do they train dogs to be guide dogs and what are all the amazing things that they need to learn. How do they get them there? And I've literally followed these folks around, on the streets of New York, watching them during some of the training.
Well, we got a minute before the break. You actually took a dog named Jasper and did what?
I did a little CY experience myself. A dog named Jessie actually took me on.
Jessie, my bad.
Jessie.
Yeah, I know.
There
I
was
remember
Jasper in the book.
Jasper's the pooper. Jessie's
right.
the eye dog. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. So I got to kind of experience what that's like to be led by a guide dog. And that
in
was
the streets of Manhattan.
In the streets of Manhattan. Where else? Where else?
What was that like? Is that as scarier than zero gravity?
Scary. They're very fast. At least this particular dog moves very quickly. And you just have to give up control. And it's difficult to do, but it just made me respect the animal all the more.
All right. We're speaking with Jennif Holland. A new book out. It's going to be a New York bestseller. I can just feel it. And it is called Dog Smart, Life-Changing Lessons in Canine Intelligence. We're going to dive into some of the things that she has done to gather her information for this book, a little bit more about this amazing dog, Jessie. But then we're going to talk about a dog named Wick and a dog named Jasper. And I personally want you to talk a little bit about the famous dog Chaser. There's your homework. So everybody stick around. We'll be right back. Just stay.
Time for a walk on the red carpet, of course. All Behave will be back in a flash right after these messages.
Pet Greens is proud to support Oh Behave on Pet Life Radio. Our small family farm produces live organic cat grass, catnip, and soft chew treats packed with green nutrition to help your pets truly thrive inside. We're partnering with pioneer cat behavior expert and best-selling author Pam Johnson-Bennett to help indoor cats live their best lives with indoor enrichment tips for their parents.
Anyone who knows me knows I am a very strong proponent for cats being indoors. But when we bring cats indoors, where I feel it's safest, we have an obligation to make sure they have a fulfilling life, that they get enrichment. And part of that enrichment is encouraging health. And a big part of that health is cat grass. Cat grass helps with the prevention of hairballs. It can help keep your cat away from houseplants. It's also fun for your cat. It's a natural behavior that your cat wants to chew, and you know that you're providing it in a safe way.
For more information on the benefits of cat grass and catnip for your cat's indoor enrichment, visit petgreens.com.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Can Chaser say in her own bark that she wants everybody to listen to the Oh Behave show on Pet Life Radio with Arden Moore? So I'm sure she can do it. Let's try it.
Well, we'll have to stretch our imagination. Chase, speak, speak.
Tell us who you are. Who are you, Chaser? Yeah, good girl.
Time for a walk on the red carpet, of course. All Behave will be back in a flash right after these messages. We're back from the lot. Just checked the paper and we had a record showing at the box. The letterbox, that is. Now back to Oh Behave. Here's Arden.
Welcome back to the Oh Behave show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. I have been looking forward to having Jennif Holland on our show. This lady's got a big old brain, and she has had a lot of life experiences, and her heart beats dogs. She loves dogs, and she has written a great book. You got to get it. Get your paws on it. It's called Dog Smart, and it is, what's the fancy publisher? National Geographic. Okay, that's a good one. Before we continue, though, there's some four-leggers at home. Now, I don't know about your pet geckos, but can you give a little shout out to your two canines? And what is something that they do that shows they're pretty smart?
Sure. Well, first I should preface this by saying I grew up with golden retrievers, Weimaraners, kind of more typical pet dogs, and absolutely adore that type of dog. But my husband and I got interested in some of the Asian breeds. They're sort of considered more primitive, if you use that word for it. So we have a Korean Jindo, and these come from the island of Jindo originally in Korea. And we have a dog called a Kai Ken, which is a Japanese breed, fluffy tail, pointy ears, super smart, super stubborn, sweet as can be.
And that's their names or their breeds?
Well, yeah, I should say these individual dogs since they really are their own thing. But Monk is the Kai Ken, named after Thelonious Monk, musician, and Getty from Rush. I'm dating myself, but Getty is our Jindo.
So what is their best source of intelligence for each one?
As I say in the book, Getty plays checkers, Monk plays chess. So Getty sort of right now, he's kind of in the moment. He's a little bit of a bully. He wants things the way he wants them. He's smart, but I would say Monk is the one who is thinking ahead and kind of planning. And he has to work around the moods of Getty. So we've watched him come up with some fairly clever ways, I think, of getting what he wants without, upsetting his brother in the process. So both very smart dogs.
Well, they're lucky to have you and your husband, John. Now, the book you've got, you reach out to a lot of people. We're going to name drop. Like you've got, I know the ethiologist, Dr. Mark Beckhoff. He's pretty well known, and Temple Grandin, another big name. But you also went to other people that have special connections with dogs. So can you tell everybody about this dog named Wick and what in the hell? This is worse than being camping by a volcano in Hawaii. What did you do?
And why did I do it?
And why did you do it?
Yeah, I had the wonderful experience of being on the other side of the police dog experience. I got to be the bad guy.
You were the perp.
I was the perp. Wick was my my perpetrator, I guess. And he's a very large, absolutely gorgeous Belgian Malinois, just a powerful, beautiful, intelligent animal. And I was fortunate to meet up with some wonderful police dog trainers, and a couple of cops came along with their dogs. And these were already well-trained dogs, Wick being one of them. And I got to put on the big, thick, padded suit. It was a bit too large for me, so it wasn't ideal, but I put it on, and I got to stand and wait and feel what it's like to have one of these dogs come for me and get his jaws on my padded arm, much padded, yet still bruised in the end. And just to have that moment of looking into this dog's eyes, it's going for it. It is trained to do this. It's going to do it, but also it's going to stop if told to stop, or at least
in German, which you needed to know that word. What's the word in German?
It was los is the word that he used. I think it means stop or off or something.
That would be a word I would learn really quickly.
You want to know that one.
So what did it mean when you said as Wick was coming at you and put his big old teeth into your arm, but you have that padding, of course, with the suit. You said you had Disney princess syndrome. What do you mean by that?
I did. So I'm one of these people who has loved animals so much all my life that I want to be that person who, an animal comes to with an injury and asks for my help, so to speak. And I want an animal to look at me and know just from looking into my eyes that I am here to help. Yes. And to have a dog that is trained to not give a crap about that, doesn't know me from anybody, and I am simply the target in this case. It was a strange experience to have a dog just come for you like that. And this animal that I love so much and that I would do anything for, and that, I just want to give it a hug and a scratch and treats. And, but dogs, these working dogs are trained so well to do exactly what they need to do. And
that's the D in diversity, right?
That's the D. That is the D.
So later on, you talked about the nose, and talk about how much more powerful their sense of smell is compared to us mere mortals.
Yeah.
And then share a little bit about Jasper going for wolf poop.
Wolf poop. Yeah. It's amazing, really. I knew dogs' olfaction was amazing. I didn't quite realize how much of a superpower it is for them, and just how, their olfactory bulb is many times larger than ours. They have, I want to say it's 350 million olfactory receptors, and we have something like 6 million. I hope I'm remembering those numbers correctly, but it's
just a big gap in difference.
They have many more genes associated with their olfaction. Just everything about them is built for sniffing, and that's how they mainly experience the world. They have very good hearing, different from ours, but very good. Their eyesight is perfectly fine, also a little different than ours. But the nose is really the superpower, and we don't really, I don't think we can really imagine quite what it's like to take in.
You said they're nose thinkers.
They're
That
nose
was a
thinkers.
great expression.
Yeah, I think that's what affects their thinking, their decision making, their problem solving. It's all about what they're sniffing and how they're, what they're making of that information and what they do with that information.
Well, in the health field and in the enforcement field, give us some examples of what dogs can do with that nose.
Yeah, so I spent time with a lot of different types of detection dogs, but some of the really interesting ones are trained to go out into the field and help find, for example, the scat or poop of an endangered species that scientists are trying to assess and track, an exotic species, sometimes a plant, sometimes an insect.
Wow.
On wineries, they're using dogs to find some of these, fungal problems that they have in certain parts.
Well, that gives a whole new name for the wine nose.
Yeah, right. You're right. Even better than the wine experts. But they can really distinguish down to the species level of, this salamander.
So Jasper, what happened? Jasper was on a mission, but there were a lot of cow patties
There were
around.
a lot of cow patties. Jasper had to know to reject all of those. Their poop, there's probably some of the same smell in there, but those are not the poops that this young woman was trying to collect. So we really, Jasper had to know the difference and to go in search of just these very particular types of pats. And it was just amazing to watch him. And this very same dog also is trained to find certain toxins that appear in the caulking on some some buildings, that's old stuff. So not only can he help you with this conservation story, but he can also help you to, find toxic stuff that needs to be remediated in architectural, in
So
building
that brings us
compounds.
to a very, very heralded smart dog that was owned by a retired psychology professor, and his name was
Chaser. Yes.
Chaser. We've actually had Professor Pilley on our show, and tell us about Chaser knew to identify by saying the word. How many items are we talking?
I want to say it was 2000 and something. It was a lot of words, no more than any other that's been recorded. And of course, his owner worked with this dog, daily on this.
And
this
he was a
project.
border collie.
And it was a
people
border
say,
collie.
"Oh, border collies are smart.
Yeah.
German shepherds are smart. Belgian Malinois are smart. Poodles are smart."
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
And
sorry,
they
Mr.
are.
Bulldog.
I think those are true. But I think one of the things that I investigated a bit is, obviously dogs are individuals like people, and you're going to find within any breed, you're going to find a lot of variation. And if you give a dog an opportunity to try something, sometimes they find that, a dog you wouldn't expect of some, a pug, sometimes is going to do very well in a sniffer detection sort of scenario, just because it's committed, it's interested, it's curious, it's low to the ground. It has all of these, these powers that it can use if we give them the opportunity to use them.
So, how long did it take you to do the research for this book?
I spent about 3 years start to finish on the book, and that was while I was doing another job, and it was during COVID. So in terms of my field experience, I'm actually really pleased with how much I got to do considering the circumstances. There were things I didn't get to go do that I had hoped to do. There was some international things I thought I might get to do, but the people who did host me and let me spend time with their working dogs were incredibly generous, and we made it work. It was and it was all worth it. It was fantastic.
So basically, you say that dogs can problem solve. You say that dogs can do math and differentiate color, size, type of object, but you also talk about the hormones and this connection. When I look into your eyes, and not you, but I look into my dog Kona's eyes, and my dog Kona, my Terry mix that is my best friend, looks into me. What's going on when you really have an intelligent connection?
Yeah, that connection has evolved over a long time, and it has really affected our physiologies. It happens in dogs and in humans, that the oxytocin and other sort of love hormones, they call them, there's actually a change in those. It goes up, and it really tells us something interesting about how dogs feel about us in reply to our love toward them. And it kind of helps support the idea that dogs have these emotions, and that there's no reason to assume that we feel it and they don't.
So what do you think? Are you going to have somebody put you on the spot and say, my dog's smarter than your dog because, or what's the point of writing about dog intelligence? Because we've gone through COVID. Dogs save our tails. They save our tails in
They
so
do.
many different ways.
They do.
And I think we're just scratching the surface of what they are capable of doing. But what's your thoughts on why you wanted to do this, and what do you want people to not say to their neighbor, my dog's smarter than your
Yeah.
dog?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's great to feel like your dog is smart and to love your dog for that. But I guess my point was sort of that if you step back from thinking about things as a human and think,
Yeah.
okay, smart means the dog will respond to our commands and can learn a trick or two. And that's sort of what we think of as smart. And a dumb dog is the dog that doesn't respond to our commands and that stares at the wall and rolls in, squirrel bones. But if you're a dog, it's a different life. It's a different world. And if intelligence is about thriving by making good choices, by solving problems, by, navigating the world that you're in a smart way, then dogs are just as smart as, or maybe smarter than many mammals, in that they have been so adaptable. They have found this niche and filled it. And, there's nearly 1 billion dogs on Earth. So they're doing something absolutely right.
Well, I think you said the word is adaptability. Dog intelligence is adaptability. What does that mean?
So just the idea that they are able to take whatever the situation is and make the best of it. And that's what early dogs did as they were becoming Canis familiaris. They were taking advantage of human societies and probably eating our trash and probably, starting to get some of the features and characteristics that humans prefer so that we wanted them to be around. And this kind of back and forth, sort of a coevolution. But in many ways, I see it as the dog's tolerance of humans and their decision, to step into our world and to
Their little human.
Yes, exactly. Let me come into your bed and lie on the foot of your bed and lick your feet.
And this question's coming. We're speaking with Jennif Holland, an amazing author, and she does so much for our environment and our world. When is Cat Smart coming out?
I haven't started the research on that one yet. I know. I do love cats too. I am an equal opportunity animal lover. There's very few creatures out there that I don't have fondness for. So it could be cats, could be next. Maybe geckos. Maybe it's time for the smarts of the reptile world to come out. So who can say?
Well, I jokingly say that dogs put the D in drool, the O in obey, the G in goofy, and the S in seconds, please. But cats put the C in candid, the A in attitude, the T in tenacious, and the S in so what?
I love it. Those are perfect.
They are not small dogs, are they?
They are not at all. Very, very different animal. Very different world.
How do people find out more about you, Jennif Holland, and get their paws on your new book, Dog Smart, and other books that you've written?
Yeah, I have a website, jenniferhollandwriter.com. I'm terrible at social media. I think I have 6 TikTok followers and maybe 27 on Instagram, so I don't even bother with that right now. But for the book,
it's kind of refreshing.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know if it's very professionally very smart, but it's the way it is. But the book, you can go on disneybooks.com, allows you to select a store. You can get it on Amazon, of course. That's probably the best price right now. The Barnes & Noble website has it, and hopefully some of the local stores are picking it up as well. So I encourage, of course, if you have an indie bookstore, to check out there first.
And what's one thing that dogs have done to make you a smarter person?
Boy, I guess they tolerated me doing this book and tolerated all the time I spent with my nose in my computer, giving me the opportunity to learn about them. And they tolerate me being a primate and being a silly primate that wants to hug and love on them and treat them like a little human. And I should know better.
Monk and Getty are very happy to have you, I think.
I hope so.
Hey, everybody, that's it for our show today. I, again, am so honored and had a good time speaking with Jennif Holland, the author of Dog Smart. I didn't give away all your secrets from the book, Jennif. Just did a little sprinkling to get them as curious as a cat to buy your dog book. What do you think?
I hope it works.
And please go to JenniferHollandWriter.com, find out more, but she just explained where you can get your paws on this book. I want to thank my producer, Mark Winter. He is the executive producer of Pet Life Radio. We are the largest pet radio station on the planet, even in zero gravity, Jennifer. And our show, Oh Behave, is the longest running weekly pet podcast on the planet, on the air since '07, when no one had a clue what it is. Somebody up in heaven, the late great Betty White, loved being a guest on our show. And Oprah has said, yes, Arden, we like your show, but you're not getting a new car. So find out more about me. Go to, I have a YouTube channel, Arden Moore. I have a new newsletter. It's fourleggedlife.com. And one of my passions is helping you help pets. I am a master instructor in pet first aid and CPR, doing it for 11 years. And I have a team of my dog and cat, Kona and Casey. And we teach veterinary-approved pet first aid in a very fun, practical way. So check us out at Pet First Aid for You. So until next time, this is your flea-free host, Arden Moore, delivering just 2 words to all you 2, 3, and 4-leggers out there. Oh, behave.
Coast to coast and around the world, it's Oh Behave with Arden Moore. Find out why cats and dogs do the things they do, and get the latest buzz from wagging tongues and tails in Rin Tin Tinseltown. From famous pet experts and best-selling authors to television and movie stars, you'll get great tail-wagging pet tips and have a fur-flying fun time. Oh Behave with America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore. Every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.